Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are back on another episode of The Market Close. It is Tuesday, November 5th, 3:46 p.m. And I guess the question I have to start off with is, are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing? Because what I'm seeing right now is a Palantir stock at not $50, which was like a milestone in and of itself this morning that we were able to see, but $51. Folks, at one point, and when I mean one point, I mean like 10 minutes ago, we were at $51.57, up about 24% of the day right now at 51.16. I don't know if we're going to close above 51. I do think it is very likely, unless anything happens in the next 15 minutes, that we close above 50, which would be pretty exciting. It would be the first $50 close in the history of Palantir stock. The last really big close like years ago was in January 2021, and that was at 41, 42. We broke through that a couple weeks ago, closed above at 45, 46, and now we are here at $51. This was an explosive day. It's hard to say anything less than that. We were live for almost 4 hours this morning, and on the market open, I had Steve call in, I had Chris call in, had a bunch of people talk to different people with different perspectives and different ideas. I talked to some people after the show was done. And you know, there's a mix of opinions. I think the obvious big opinion that everyone has right now, even if you're super bullish, is that, look, is Palantir worth more than Nike? Is Palantir worth more than Boeing? Does it deserve to be worth half of Salesforce doing 10x less in revenue? I mean, these are questions that are, one could think easy to answer, but if they were easy to answer at 35 or 40, then we wouldn't be at 50. And I think there's a lot more to the conversation or to the analysis of the question than just does it deserve to be worth more than those companies, because currently as of 3:48 p.m. at 115 billion, it is worth more than some of those companies. These are kind of my thoughts summed up right here. I want to share this post right now in terms of how I'm thinking about valuation. By the way, put in the chat, let's do one word to describe how you're feeling right now. Let's see what people say. Because I'm struggling to find the words. So hopefully you guys can come up with one word that describes the emotions today. But this is pretty incredible. I said, can you guys even believe your brokerage screens right now? Like, are you seeing this? I mean, just basically spent all day staring at Palantir here at $50. I am sure there's nervousness out there about valuation and all of that, but this is one of those days, in my opinion, where you look back and you realize that almost every analyst was dead wrong. Every talking head that didn't know what an ontology was but felt confident discussing Palantir was dead wrong. The market is rewarding Palantir today up 20% for a reason, and I believe that reason is that they believe AI demand is not slowing down, per the words of Karp yesterday, and Palantir has the single best go-to-market approach with AIP bootcamps to capitalize on that demand. By the way, that's what Mariana from Bank of America also said in her report this morning. That entire report is on my Twitter. Basically, her argument is that if this demand cycle is not slowing down, the only company that is going to be able to capitalize that in a meaningful way from the government and the commercial side is Palantir. And that is why I think the market is giving it this momentum. Also, I do not think, and I think a lot of people agree with this as well, that I don't think retail bought $20 billion worth of stock today. I just don't think that happened. I think there were bigger people that came in and decided to buy up the stock as a result of just thinking that they don't want to miss out on the story. So my kind of conclusion here in terms of the price action today and what we're seeing is that the big guys realized, I think they missed it. And that doesn't mean it can't come back down. But I think many people across the world saw those results yesterday and simply want to be part of the Palantir story because they don't see another software company that actually cares about their clients, doesn't treat them like they can suck money out of them, has a tech moat 20 years in the making. If someone else could come up with an ontology, they would have done it by now. They haven't for a reason. Is willing to serve the highest levels of government and has a culture that is based on giving more than you take. Palantir up now 205% year to date. We are up 800% from the lows of 2022. And now is outperforming NVIDIA in terms of year-to-date performance, which is pretty incredible. NVIDIA, by the way, is fighting with Apple in terms of becoming the most valuable company today. NVIDIA is up 189% year-to-date. I think just beating Apple. NVIDIA is at 3.4 trillion. Apple is at 3.37. So NVIDIA is now more valuable than Apple. And Palantir is up year-to-date 208%. I believe outside of Carvana and some of these other guys, this is the best performing tech stock in the entire market. If you didn't know who Palantir was before, now you know. Now You guys know this is incredible. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. Thank you for the $49.99 super chat or super sticker from PLTR. Appreciate it. I'm probably going to go buy a share of Palantir with that $50. Thank you so much for that super chat. It's pretty incredible though, right? If you didn't know what Palantir is and you're just like a general consumer of the market and you're not part of this community or just haven't kept up with the story, now you know, at least to an extent, because any stock that goes up this much in a day, in this type of a market, especially before the freaking election in a couple hours, you probably look into it a little more. Not to mention Karp has an entire book coming out in February, which is just going to be more marketing. I mean, the tailwinds are not slowing down. We got rate cuts coming up. Is the valuation up there? Yes, I get it. But there's also an argument that simply people want to be part of the story. And because people want to be part of the story, it's pretty exciting to see kind of how it's playing out. So there you go. Portfolio all-time high thanks to Palantir. Yeah, I got a lot of these messages today. A lot of people are up a lot on Palantir. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I know some people are taking profits, some people are not taking profits, some people are selling covered calls. But one thing to like just like sit in is the fact that you had the perspective and due diligence to invest in a stock when, quite frankly, Wall Street told you not to, right? And like this is not to say retail always gets it right. A lot of times retail gets it wrong, but with Tesla, retail beat the street. And with Palantir, it looks like so far retail's beating the street. And, you know, a lot of people call retail dumb money, and there's a lot of dumb things retail does, myself included in that. But there are some times where there's just moments where retail discovers something because there's a little bit more creativity in terms of imagining what it could become over the big guys on the street. And Palantir seems to be that moment. And if you've been part of that story, then you are part of this journey. It's pretty incredible to see how this is all playing out. SMCI is going to be out today in terms of earnings. I'm very curious to see what happens with SMCI because we know that they had some, what do you call it? How are they up 5%? I haven't even looked at this all day. I was too busy looking at Palantir. But SMCI had that whole Ernst & Young consulting firm leave, say that we don't trust them. I'm shocked that it's up 5% right now. Let's see what happens on the numbers. More important than the numbers, which I think the numbers will be decent. The big thing I'm looking for SMCI is not adjusted, but gross margins, because gross margins are going to tell us the story on how much growth they're actually going to be able to bring down to the bottom line. But outside of that, I really care about, like in the press release, do they say anything about the fact that a major consulting firm left them because they couldn't trust their management? Like, that's a big deal. It would be nice to hear something from that. So we'll see what happens, but it looks like the market doesn't care, and the market's giving SMCI some momentum right here, up about 6% after being down about 40% last week, after Ernst & Young said they were not working with SMCI anymore. Talk DG, thank you for the $14 Canadian super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you for this super chat, and thank you everybody for being here once again today. So before we go back to Palantir and kind of look at the results from SMCI and see how Palantir closes out the day, Palantir right here, 51.14. It would be really nice to close above 54. We got 6 minutes left. The broader market, folks, is doing great. Look at the S&P 500 up 1%, and we have the most volatile event happening in the history of at least 2024 in a couple hours. It is pretty incredible that the markets are saying, we're not going to go flat today. We're going to go up. You got SoFi up 5% of the day. SoFi hit 1155. You've got Grindr. I'm going to be honest right here. I haven't even looked at Grindr for like 5 hours. It's about to crack $14. I don't know, dude. It's up 4% of the day. I have no idea why it's up, but Grindr is up right now on the day as well. Snowflake is up. Lockheed Martin is up. Apple is up. The point is a lot of stocks are up on the day. Hims somehow is down after that really good earnings. Not exactly sure why, but I'm going to be doing some more due diligence on this one. Not sure why it's getting hit after earnings, but pretty much everything's green. Amazon's trying to break 200 again. Google's 171, MicroStrategy at 227, even Bitcoin. Are we back at 70? We were at 70 in the morning. Where is Bitcoin? Bitcoin 69,462. So I think the really weird thing here is that the internal volatility of the election is not affecting, at least today, the broader market. I mean, the fact that Palantir, I know they had amazing numbers, but the fact that the market is willing to take Palantir up 23% of the day, add about $25 billion in market cap to them, simply means that they're not that concerned about the election. And maybe the market's coming to the conclusion that the election doesn't matter that much, even though I think the market will have a reaction to it, regardless of who wins. But it is pretty astonishing that the market does not care right now. And maybe that's an argument because, look, they believe yields are going to come down. They think we're going to get rate cuts. They think like all the other macroeconomic factors that are important are going to take place. And it doesn't really matter what administration it is. They probably also are pricing in gridlock. So there's not going to be a Republican sweep or a Democratic sweep. I'll be live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard tonight to start covering the entire election. But I don't know. It seems like the market just doesn't care today. It's not like we had any big earnings outside of Palantir that was yesterday. So nothing I could see would be a market moving event outside of the market saying, hey, yesterday was a juicy dip. We want to get back in this. We think that on average, no matter who is elected, the market goes up 10% 12 months later in a new administration. And so maybe the market's taking an opportunity to get in on this dip based on what we saw yesterday. DJT was one of the biggest gambles today. So DJT is now up 1%. At one point, it was up like 14%. So that one did have a very violent reaction to the up and downside. But you got DJT right here up about 1% right now. Again, S&P 500 at 575. Reddit is up 11%. Oh, I didn't know that. Rocket Lab as well. Where's Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab. Yeah, look at that. Wow. Rocket Lab 5%. I think they have a launch coming up soon though, right? So I think that might be the reason. And then Reddit's 11.84%. DJT just went red. That's incredible on Reddit and Rocket Lab. So here's the thing. If Harris gets elected or Trump gets elected, does that really change the long-term thesis on Reddit? Probably not. And I think that's why the market's just like, you know what? We kind of just don't care anymore. And the market's emotional. It tends to care, sometimes tends to not care. If you get rate cuts, which we're going to get on Thursday, then Reddit, this thrives in that environment even more. So I don't know, market, at least right now, doesn't seem like they're caring too much. Look at SMCI go up 8% into the close. It looks like they're going to put up some good numbers. The street already knows SMCI has always put up really good numbers on their earnings outside of their gross margins. Because obviously the AI thematic GPUs, right? SMCI has a ton of demand, but I don't understand how the street's ready to buy it unless they think that there's going to be a very easy answer to this whole consulting firm doesn't trust management thing. And maybe there is, and maybe the street knows about it, but I think right now they're definitely acting like it's not as big of a deal. Just an incredible day. Just an incredible day. Kenneth said, I trimmed my position today to match my original investment, took 185K in profit, going to let it cool down now. Yeah, congrats. I mean, if you're taking profits today on Palantir, especially if you've been in the stock since $8, $10, I do not blame you at all. The covered call premiums are absolutely juicy. And if going into 50, 55s, I mean, here's the question. And when Steve was on the show, we were kind of talking about this. He doesn't understand who the hell is buying it at $50.51. I know a lot of people in the chat, including myself, because we have positions, like we don't need to buy it at 51, right? Like eventually, if we want to increase our positions over time and 50 is normalized, then sure. But like there is no urgency or FOMO for people that have been in this for a while to buy at 50. Like logically buying a stock up 200% year to date when you already have a position, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. But for the people that don't have a position, AKA fund managers, because I do not think 23% up on the day is retail. I personally don't believe that. It seems like they're having a good dose of FOMO. And maybe that FOMO means that, they're buying at the top right now and there's going to be a little bit of a pullback that could happen. Or maybe it means they just want to get part of the story no matter what. But I think if you're retail, you deserve to take some profits and, hold on for the ride with the shares that you want to keep as new entrants continue to enter into this market. Where's Robinhood? Robinhood was above 25 as well for the majority of the day. I did sell some puts on Robinhood at 24 for November 15th and at 23.50. So I sold two puts at those levels, 24.96 right here, up 2.59% of the day. Really good price action on Robinhood. 25 close would be awesome, but even going into these high 24s is pretty good over the past couple of days. So Robinhood as well, kind of, I guess not really caring too much about the election, investors not caring too much about that, but rather just realizing that it probably is undervalued given the fall post earnings. All right, folks, we got 15 seconds. I think we're about to make history live on November 5th at 4 p.m. It looks like Palantir has officially closed above 51 freaking dollars, ladies and gentlemen. The stock market is now closed. Not 50, not 48, not 49, 51. I mean, it's just, I don't even know what to say, dude. 50, like the market wasn't happy with 50. They wanted 51. That means people were buying it at $50.95, $51.05, $51.15. This is what you've got for Palantir, up 23% on the day. Market cap is $114 billion. The stock is up 208% year to date, outperforming NVIDIA by over 20%. And it has one of the greatest communities on the planet with one of the most interesting CEOs and management and leadership teams in the world. Pretty freaking incredible. $51.15 on Palantir as we close out the day. PLTR, thank you again for another $50 super chat. You do not need to send these, but I appreciate this. I'm just going to buy 2 shares of Palantir. Yeah, your $49.99 super chat is lower than Palantir's price right now, so I'm going to have to throw in that extra dollar to buy a share at 51. Thank you for that. This is just incredible. All right, so we'll keep going with Palantir and see what we've got going on. SMCI will have earnings coming up pretty soon, and we'll see the results that we get on SMCI in a bit. And see kind of what they end up saying. I don't think any other companies have any major earnings today after the bell. Yeah, it's SMCI. That's mainly it. Big Bear AI. This is another AI name, but this one, I don't think this one's going to be that big of a deal. It was up 10% on the day. Robinhood as well, $25.08 after hours. That's up about 0.5%. Palantir down about 0.5% after hours. So Palantir down below 51. We'll see kind of how that move settles in over the next couple of hours. Reddit's right here ended about 13% on the day. Bitcoin, 69,420. Apple ended up 0.5% on the day. Snowflake was up a little bit. We had Grindr end right at 1394, up about 3.64%. SoFi ended at 1142, up almost 5% on the day. And the S&P 500 ended at 576, up 1.2%. Where were the Qs? I would imagine they were up today because of NVIDIA. The Qs as well, up 1.28% at 492 on the day. Imagine if SMCI is up 50%. I mean, look, if SMCI only fell 40% because of the accounting errors or, management leaving or whatever, the consulting firm leaving management, and that reason is a non sequitur, and SMCI comes out and says, hey, it's like not that big of a deal. SMCI going up right here, up about 2%. Maybe it does regain its 40% loss. I just think that's a little hard given, big 4 consulting firms don't just leave for no reason. So they're going to need an answer to that. And I don't know if they necessarily have an answer to that question right now. Lumen has earnings today as well. Okay, so we'll take a look at them. Lumen, they're already up 6% after hours right here. Lumen Technologies. This one had a big run early in the year, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah, this one was $1.50 in July. Then it went up to $6 August 7th. And since then, it's kind of been chilling in that range, up about 9% after hours. Lumen Technology right here, market cap of $7.74 billion. SMCI is up 1%. Let me see if I can get the SMCI results. I believe they come out pretty quickly. I don't think we have to wait too long for that to happen. But let's see if we can get on top of that. We have a whole election, folks, that is happening later today. Like, I have not thought about the election at all today, like at all, because it's like I was looking at Palantir all day, so it's like it's just distracted me the whole day. But the fact that still has to happen is kind of crazy. Where is Palantir? Palantir right here, $51.15, $50.87 after hours. I think the fact that it closed above 50 is just like, okay. So here's the question. Here's the question to the chat. Let's get your raw reactions. As we're waiting for SMCI. Are you nervous or excited at Palantir being at 50? Nervous would indicate that you're afraid that there is a big pullback coming, which is fair. Excited would indicate kind of, no, you think it can rally even further. So if you had to pick nervous or excited, how would you kind of categorize your thoughts right now on Palantir? Again, it's the first day of 50. We got to normalize it. It's going to take a long time to normalize. Maybe it goes to 49 tomorrow. Maybe it goes to 51. Maybe it stays flat for the next couple months at 50. But I imagine a lot of people are feeling a lot of things based on this price action. Andy, thank you for the $10 super chat. You the GOAT. I appreciate it, Andy. Thank you so much for being here, part of the streams. And thank you for everyone spending your time with me every single day here as we are analyzing the markets. I see a lot more excited than nervous. You got Julie excited in all caps. Look, I feel you. I think a hint of nervousness is fair to have. Especially at these levels. Look at this green candle right here, dude. $40 to $51. Who would have thought yesterday? 40 to 51. Especially as Palantir was like almost down 5% yesterday going into earnings. But the market doesn't care. The market does not care. Where's Boeing right now? I want to see Boeing. Boeing's market cap is $93 billion. Palantir's at $115. Nike's market cap is $116 billion. Palantir for a little bit today was above Nike's market cap. Palantir is the 115th most valuable company in the S&P 500 as of this closing price. I think it might even be a little bit higher than that because that was when it was $50.50. So It's a hell of a day, a hell of a performance by Palantir. SMCI. All right, I don't have any results yet on SMCI. I'm trying to get those. I want to see the press release and see if they address the law firm leaving or the consulting firm leaving. Implied move is 21% post earnings for SMCI. Results still not out yet. It's probably going to take maybe until 4:10 or 4:15. Yeah, not on their website either. So we're going to have to wait a little bit to see these. SMCI is an hour later. Really? I don't think it's an hour later. I think the call. Oh, let me see it right now. The call is at 5 p.m. Yeah, the results should be out in like 10 minutes max. The call's at 5 p.m. though. If anyone owns SMCI, let me know in the chat if you bought SMCI recently, if you took a little bit of a gamble on it. As you can see right there, it was at $51 on October 9th, currently at $28, up 1.7% after hours. It was up 7% on the day. The fact that it was up 7% makes me think earnings are going to be really good. But we just don't know given the uncertainty of what happened last week with their consulting firm. Okay, we have a bunch of you that bought SMCI. All right, so we got a bunch of people waiting for these results. All right, so let's see what they end up saying. Imagine if they delay results, dude. That'd be funny. That'd be last time they gave preliminary guidance, which was the opposite of delaying results. So we're gonna see kind of how they navigate this today. I bought Dell, who will be taking much of business from SMCI when they implode entirely. Well, if you believe SMCI implodes, then I think Dell is a good buy. I don't know if the company implodes. I think, the stock might struggle if the street really doesn't buy the explanation for SMCI's version of the story on Ernst & Young leaving. I don't think the company explodes, though. I mean, they just do a lot of business to explode. Unless everything's a sham and, they've just been cooking the books for years. At that point, the SEC would get involved and they probably do shut down. So these results today will give us a little bit more insight on what we got going on. Bought a put credit spread for 25.24, 500 for 170 in my pocket. Look, that's a nice return. And you're up on that right now, given SMCI is at 28. So now we just got to see if it can maintain above that $25 part of the put spread. Amit, are you making this a long stream? No. So we'll end this stream probably at like 5, and then I'll get ready for the election stream. And then at 7 p.m., we'll start with the elections. Lumen, by the way, up about 9.2% right now. Let me see if I can get their numbers. But yeah, this will end in an hour. I'll get ready for the election. And then 7 p.m., we'll do the Trump versus Harris whole charades that we have to play to see what happens. So Lumen Technologies raises fiscal year 2024 guidance despite a miss on Q3. Free cash flow, $1.2 billion. CapEx, $3.3 billion. Revenue, $2.54 billion. They missed expectations of $2.6 billion. Wholesale, $706 million. Mid-market, $471 million. Strong cash, improved free cash flow outlook. Business segments showing mixed performance against sub segments, and capital efficiency demonstrated through lower CapEx spending. So CapEx went down. They missed on revenues, but free cash flow guidance went up, which is not a horrible position to be in at the size of their company. Free cash flow is really king at these levels, even if they missed on revenues. So I guess market's willing to overlook that, up right here about 7.42%. Palantir as well, $51.03 after hours. Again, we closed at 51.15. DJT is up about 1.62%. Bitcoin, 69,385. There was a moment where Bitcoin was at 70.2 and DJT was at like 40, and then they both dumped at the same time, which I don't know if the market saw some magic poll that told them Trump was losing or something, but it kind of felt like the market immediately priced out a Trump victory on that collapse. But I just think we don't fully know until we get the actual answer later today. A mid question: if SMCI plunges on earnings, are you a buyer? No, I don't know, dude. SMCI is not that interesting of a stock to me. I mean, I'd rather buy Nvidia, dude. SMCI's margins suck, even though their growth is awesome. But it's a hardware company with, Nvidia has 70% margins. SMCI has 11%. At that point, if you're buying it for growth, they've got to really grow a lot to be able to keep bringing in net income because the margins aren't helping them do that. And then they're kind of commoditized, right? If Dell can do what they're doing, if HP can do what they're doing to an extent. I mean, the fact that NVIDIA is literally rerouting some of their orders from SMCI to Dell and HP that was announced 2 days ago, then it's not like they're that special to me. And I don't think they're super undervalued because I don't think it's an exciting company to own for the long term. But if it goes to $10 or something, maybe then, maybe it's much bigger of a look at that point. I do think NVIDIA is the better deal as well. Okay, so no results yet on SMCI. Earnings are not updated yet. CNBC does not have the numbers. Okay, so let's bring this right here. We're waiting for SMCI results. As we're waiting, let's take a look at this. Let me see if I can pull up some other companies in the meantime.
5 years. Look at that. They basically landed in roughly the same place right here. Gold is a shapeshifter in terms of what it responds to. Obviously, it's been rising to records here, even as real yields have been going up. The dollar's been pretty strong. Obviously, inflation has come down. But of course, we have easy financial conditions. There's a lot of diversification of reserves among central banks, maybe some global unease. But it's not always the case that they move together here. I would point out in particular, kind of here when gold kind of lost its bid in the vicinity of the 2020 election. Of course, that was also when we got COVID vaccines coming through. So a lot of a break in uncertainty there. And then in terms of the big movers within the equity market, take a look at Supermicro, which we're, of course, going to hear from very soon, as well as NVIDIA. And XSD is just the equal-weighted semiconductor index. And this is only over the last year. And you can see immediately SMCI was anointed as kind of the next core play on the AI investment theme. And of course, because of all of its issues and regulatory static, has come crashing down. But I also think this points out how the average semiconductor stock is up 30% on a one-year basis. That's basically where the S&P 500 is as well. And it's really been NVIDIA and Broadcom that have been kind of in line.
SMCI is flat, guys. I think we get results in 3 minutes. I'll try to get the exact time, but I think by 4:15 we should get results. And right now they are flat after hours.
Evening the sector as opposed to the average semi stock, Morgan.
Yeah, these are really interesting charts. I'm going to step back and ask you a broader election-related question here, and that is how closely should investors be watching the currency markets, given the fact that a lot of the positioning we're seeing tied to the so-called Trump trade, or so-called Harris trade, as they're being reported on, really lie there?
Yes. I mean, obviously, it's one of the more sensitive areas that's going to respond, along with Treasury yields, as Adam was saying. I mean, strong dollar has been an element of the Trump policy mix that people would anticipate, whether it's tariffs and just sort of a general kind of expansionary, reflationary type policy set. So that's one of the things you'd want to look at. But man, there's so many head fakes in the market on election day, election night, that I would also caution against people overinterpreting what the market does and say that has any predictive value, really, in the short term.
Yeah, and VIX has come off, too, coming into today as well. So that's been interesting. Mike, we'll see you later this hour. Thank you. Well, after the break, Khosla Venture.
Okay, SMCI should be soon, dude. There's no way it's at 5 p.m. It'll be pretty soon, like very soon, I think. And then we get to see what happens with SMCI. I'm on their website right now, and I'm trying to see exactly when they announced it. View all news, third quarter. Yeah, guys, it should be out in like 5 minutes, literally, latest 5 minutes. So we should be getting it pretty soon. Website says 5. No, 5 is for the call. 5 is for the call, not for the actual numbers. The numbers should be at 4:20. Should be at 4:20. Does Tesla dump big if Trump loses? Yes, in my opinion. Now, there could be a world where the whole market just doesn't care if Trump loses and everything is perfectly fine, which I think, honestly, the market was kind of acting like that today, but there was parts of the market that wasn't acting like that. It's just given how much Elon has put his support, by the way, Tesla up 4% of the day, against, like behind Trump. He's going to be hosting an election kind of night. He's going to be with Trump the whole night today during the election. It seems like the market might be interpreting Elon's avid support for him as like a reason for why, if Trump loses, that would not be the best. Look, do I think Elon actually cares about some of the, oh my God, SMCI is down. Oh my God, we're down. We're down. Oh boy, that's down. That's red. It was up 7% right before the close. Now it's down 15%, recovering a little bit. Now it's down 12%. I don't know if you can come back from a down 12% in the same day. Is it about to do that? Now it's down 6%. It went from 15 to 12 to 6. That's tough. When you have that big of a reaction to the downside, usually it doesn't easily recover. SMCI is now down 4%. It went from down 15 to down 4. Finishing the thought on Elon really quickly, I was just going to say, I think Elon, although he cares about the country, there's probably a business reason why he's supporting Trump, and that's why the markets might be thinking that Tesla could be tied to a Trump victory or not. SMCI down 12%. Yeah, it's getting hit. It's getting hit. All right, what are the numbers? What are the reverse stock split? No way. No way they did a reverse stock. There's no way, dude. They don't need to do that. There's no way. They haven't done a reverse stock split. There's no way, bro. That would be insanity. They don't need to do a reverse stock split. That would be crazy, bro. That would be crazy. I don't think that it's not confirmed yet, guys. That's not confirmed. I don't think that would be insane. There would just be no. They just did a forward split. How are you gonna do a reverse split? Like down 15%. Yeah, this thing is getting hit, bro. Does someone have some avocado? Because this thing is toast, bro. Goodness gracious. All right, so we're waiting for the numbers on this one. Still don't have the numbers. Let me see if Twitter has the numbers. The market obviously has the numbers, and the market doesn't like it. No one has the numbers. So the market has the numbers, the public doesn't, and the market's reacting badly. So that means when we get the numbers, we down 17%. Holy crap, dude. Goodness gracious. This is just, this is bad, bro. This has to be something that, like, this can't just be numbers. I think the market wanted an answer to Ernst & Young leaving, and I think they came out with earnings and there was no answer. And maybe the market's like, hey, we really, like, it's not something you say on the earnings call. Maybe you say that in the press release. Like, I mean, how do you wait till the earnings call to address that? I feel like you have to address that straight on. Or maybe the numbers actually were that bad. But the numbers can't be the... is this it? No, this doesn't have the exact numbers. Is this it? SMCI? I don't know if that's correct. I'm getting a bunch of mixed results right here. I'm hearing they missed on their guidance badly for next quarter. Okay, I think we got it. Wait, why is this the... What? I guess... Okay, I'm going to show you guys this thing. This doesn't make a lot of sense. Why are they calling it preliminary financial guidance when these are the real results? Like this is so weird. Okay. We have a bunch of stuff to look at. Let me pull this up. This is weird. Why are they calling it preliminary financial highlights? Isn't it just like their actual highlights? All right, let me pull this up right here. They did address the Ernst & Young leaving from what I'm seeing. Okay, so here's what we got. So this is what I'm looking at. SMCI right here. Preliminary financial highlights. Net sales between 5.9 to 6 billion, below prior guidance of 6 to 7. That's actually not good because they did guide 6 to 7. I remember last time. So yeah, that is. So they're lowering guidance. 13.3% GAAP gross margins. That's a little bit better than expected, if I'm not wrong. Last time I think it was like 11.5%. GAAP diluted EPS projected at 68 to 70 cents, up from prior guidance. That's good. Non-GAAP diluted EPS 75 to 76 cents. That's slightly lower on the high end than the 83 cents they expected. Cash and debt total of 2.1 billion of cash, 2.3 billion in debt. Full year 2025, Q2 2025 guidance, net sales of 5.5 to 6.1 billion, 48 to 58 cents of EPS, non-GAAP EPS of 65 cents. Special committee investigation update, outcome, no evidence of fraud or misconduct by management or the board. Recommendations, series of remedial actions to enhance internal governance and oversight. What does that even mean? Report full findings expected within a week. Filing delay, Form 10K remains pending. Holy crap, they still didn't file the Form 10K? Remains pending? What? Oh my goodness. Maybe that's another reason the stock is tanking right now, that they didn't even file the 10K yet. They were supposed to file it August 29th. Last time I checked, it's November freaking 5th, dude. SMCI recovering a little bit. It's down 12% now. It was down 15%. I'm trying to get some more coverage on this one, and we'll see. We'll see what we got. All right, here we go. We should have the numbers. Here we go.
Morning, these are preliminary first quarter results and Q2 guidance. Let's start with the guidance because that seems to be what is moving the stock here in overtime. It sees its second quarter adjusted EPS of 56 to 65 cents, which is well below the Wall Street estimate of 83 cents. So a big ouch there. Revenue for the second quarter, it sees in the range of 5.5 billion to 6.1 billion, that to below Wall Street forecast of 6.86 billion. If we look at sort of the range that is providing for the first quarter, earnings of 75 to 76 cents. That's sort of in line with what Wall Street was predicting. Revenues of 5.9 to 6 versus the $6.45 billion estimate. So clearly numbers here not looking great for Supermicro as it deals with these regulatory concerns. And on that, Morgan, following a 3-month investigation, the company says, which was led by an independent counsel, the committee's investigation to date has found that the audit committee has acted independently and that there's no evidence of fraud or misconduct. The company also adds that at this time, it remains unable to predict when the company's 10K will be filed. We'll have more on this story as we watch shares fall here by around 8% in overtime. Of course, the larger story here is it's down about 70% from its recent high hit back in March. Morgan.
So what is going to matter more on the conference call then for this name? Is it going to be the actual fundamentals of this company, or is it going to be the fact that we still don't have any timeline on that 10K? And obviously there's a lot of controversy and financial question marks that have been swirling, in part, I think, causing that 70% drop from the highs.
Absolutely. I mean, since those accounting allegations were surfaced by Hindenburg Research back in August, we've seen the stock move lower. And of course, there's been reports of a DOJ probe. So I think investors want clarity on the call tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern, Morgan, on has the company been able to secure a new auditor since Ernst & Young pulled out as the company's auditor? And how are these regulatory concerns and accounting concerns impacting the company's ability to fulfill new orders? Now, just looking at the second quarter guidance, well below what Wall Street is expecting. So how much is that tied to these accounting concerns? And also the risks of a potential delisting. If the company's not able to secure an auditor and meet the compliance requirements of the NASDAQ by November 16th, there are concerns that the company will have to delist. A lot coming up in that hour.
Yeah, and of course, all the family ties across businesses that are connected to Supermicro as well. It's quite the web to untangle. Seema Modi, thank you. We have much more on the election ahead, including...
This is a mess, bro. So these aren't real earnings results. These are preliminary results, probably because they haven't been audited. Therefore, they can't give legit results. Also, the 10K can't come out because you need the auditor to do that. Their auditor left. And then the preliminary results suck in terms of the guidance going down, which is not good. I don't think that's like bearish for NVIDIA, but if NVIDIA's Blackwell demand is insane, SMCI's server demand should technically be insane too. Right now, again, NVIDIA's a monopoly. SMCI has to compete with other companies like Dell and HP, but still you would imagine that like that matches up a little bit to that demand. And if they're lowering the guidance, then I guess they're not living up to those demand projections. So this stock now was down 15%. It's down 9% right here, recovering a little bit. You got some people buying the dip on Mr. SMCI. Weird, right? It was up 7% at 4 p.m. This is like, this is where the market can humble you, because you would think, all right, so the market knows something if it's up 7%. And then they come out with this, like, I don't even know what to call this report, if you want to call it. And it's like, why would anyone have bought SMCI going into 4 p.m.? Unless you thought you knew something, but I guess the street didn't know anything. And it was just people taking a gander at something that potentially was down 40%. And they thought it bottomed. Apparently not. $25 now in SMCI. For some context, SMCI was over $120 in March. Now it's at 25. So pretty hard fall from SMCI. Would it be a candidate for a buyout? I feel like a company could buy them out. I mean, they're only 16 billion. So like, yeah, I think that could happen. Would SMCI sell? I don't know. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think that even Dell, I don't know if the government would allow it, but I mean, I feel like Dell could swap them up. It's just a question of, do they want to do that, right? Or do they just want to take market share from them? Because if you're not getting anything proprietary or strategic from acquiring them because they're a commoditized server IT company, then it's like, maybe there's nothing meaningful to actually acquire there. Boeing was down 2.62% on the day. Nike was up about 1%. The Qs were up 1.2%. All of the indices, guys, were up today. Take a look at this. The Dow Jones now with NVIDIA, the S&P 500, IWM, and the NASDAQ all up 1% on the day, on a day that's theoretically supposed to be the most volatile in the market with the election coming up. So pretty amazing day for the broader markets as we continue to see some strength. Let's check on Palantir after hours. PLTR is $50.96. Again, we closed at $51, which was an incredible close for Palantir. Up about 23% of the day, and now it's slightly below 51 right here at $50.96 currently at the moment. Dell right here, 133. Dell was up about 3% on the day. Robinhood up about 2.63% at 24.96. And yeah, I mean, Mac 7 were good today. Tesla had the best day, up about 3.54. The rest of these guys were up about 1 to 2%, which wasn't too bad for the Mac 7s. Cruise lines, where were the cruises today? Carnival was up 2.46. Royal Caribbean was up 3.12. Royal Caribbean did have a really good earnings the other day. And then NCLH, Norwegian, was up 3% as well. So cruises also had a pretty decent day. All right. We've got a pretty decent market today in terms of its action. I think now the biggest thing I'm concerned about, guys, is the election. I mean, it's dude, it feels so surreal today. It's so interesting because it was like on August 5th when we had the yen carry trade and the whole world was falling apart, but Palantir had earnings, and like Palantir crushed earnings, so like no one thought about, at least, you know, if you're invested in Palantir, you weren't caring that much about the yen carry trade because you were just like obsessed with Palantir that day. Same thing. We got a big election today. And it's kind of like no one, at least if you're deep into Palantir, I don't know if you've thought about it today because you're just like staring at Palantir. So it's kind of crazy how it just diverted a lot of people's attention from the election that's happening. Any chance that SMCI goes up? I'm not sure. So SMCI just put out this compliance plan. Let me pull this up right here. I think it's the same thing they were talking about on CNBC. They have 60 days to notify the NASDAQ exchange on what the hell they're doing when it comes to auditing. So SMCI announced on September 2024 that it received a letter from the NASDAQ stating that the company is not in compliance with the listing rule, which requires timely filing of reports. They have 60 days to file the report, so you're looking at close to the end of November to file those reports. And if not, they could be delisted. I don't think SMCI is going to be delisted. They're gonna file this hopefully by the end of November, early December. But I mean, they need a new accounting firm to work with them, since Ernst & Young is not deciding not to do it. Celsius is earnings tomorrow. I don't even know that. Oh boy, that's an interesting one. Celsius. Let's take a look at this one right here. Celsius, I think, still stuck in that $30 range. Again, I'm not bearish Celsius, and I don't think you can be bearish when it's down 60% year to date, especially because the only reason it was down is not because their accounting firm can't trust management, but rather because their growth slowed down, which is like, yeah, that happens to stocks. But has their growth slowed down to the point where this thing goes down 80%? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like, I think their growth should be good enough theoretically to maintain momentum. 31.85 right here on Celsius. I'm just not in the stock or in the name because I just don't think energy drinks are that exciting to go long. I just don't feel like studying or caring about the nuances and intricacies of energy drinks. Because if I invest in them, I have to give somewhat of a you know what about energy drinks. And I don't know if I'll care that much. Honestly, I'd rather buy Palantir at 50. At least I'll care more about Palantir than say. Ironically, everyone at Palantir drinks Celsius. Like literally everyone. Even Sham on our podcast, he was drinking a Celsius. It's pretty crazy how much people love that drink, especially at Palantir. Do we have an updated short interest on SoFi? So this came out a couple of days ago. The short interest is still 18% as of October 15th. Let's see if the new one's out. I think it's going to take a couple of days for it to be out. Yeah, it's not out yet. Still 17.84%. You know, that rate cut on Thursday is going to be very bullish for SoFi. And if that rate cut happens, which is probably going to happen, let's actually check the futures on if that's going to happen. Then I think $12 starts to be in play. I mean, we're already seeing SoFi start to really break out aggressively. And so maybe there's a chance that ends up happening. Yeah, still a 97% chance for a rate cut. So that rate cut should happen, and that would be pretty good if it ends up happening. Do you think Palantir will drop tomorrow? I have no idea what to expect for tomorrow. Like, literally no idea. We'll find out tonight when the futures come out at 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. And Robinhood overnight trading will happen at 8 p.m. And so I think we'll have an inkling of who we think. I mean, honestly, no, at 8 p.m., we're not going to know who's winning the election. Like, not even close. I think until like 10:30 to 11, if it's a blowout, we'll start to know. If it's still tight, then it's going to go well into the night. So I don't know how the market's going to start reacting to it. But if Trump's winning, DJT is going to go up, Tesla's going to go up, Bitcoin's going to go up. And if Trump is perceived as losing, I think all three of those go down. I think that's the only like confident assumptions I can make. DJT, Bitcoin, and Tesla go up or down based on Trump winning or losing. And that's just because of how tied they are to his presidency. Does Palantir go down? I don't know. I mean, look, if Trump wins, JD Vance super bullish for Palantir. But here's the thing, if Trump loses, okay, and Harris is elected, and we continue to engage in other countries' problems, that just means defense spending goes up. And defense spending going up means probably Palantir catches some of that money. So, you know, you can, again, and this is not just for Palantir, there's so many stocks you can make a bull or bear case for Trump or Kamala. It's just a question of how the market interprets it. And I think ultimately, you know, we're going to have to see how it plays out over the coming weeks. Solar stocks win if Kamala does. Yes, that is also true. What happens to NVIDIA if Trump wins? You know, I think the Max 7 are immune to Trump or Harris. I really do. I think the Max 7 are going to move up and down together regardless of Trump or Harris, because their cash flows, by the way, Enphase was up 2.84% today. Their cash flows and their ability to buy back stock. By the way, the past 2 weeks was a blackout period for buybacks. So going into next week, not only do you have a rate cut, not only do you have a new administration, which could be bullish or bearish, we'll see what happens, but you also have buybacks starting again going into the second week of November. So you're going to start to see, and then money market funds, we still have 6.5 trillion. Maybe after this rate cut, you start having money market funds and, you know, people start saying, all right, it's time to get into the markets. Doesn't make sense to collect this type of yield risk-free. You might start getting that inflow of capital start coming in. Another chart I want to show you guys. I saw this chart today. Let's see if I can pull this chart up. That also describes what happens historically with elections. Might end up not being too bad. Oh, how stocks have done on election day. So this was the chart. I mean, the market's closed right now, but this is historically what has happened. So on average, since 1928, the stock market has returned 0.92%. Today, the S&P closed up 1%. So pretty much in line with the historical tendencies of what has happened previously, whether it was Democrat or Republican. On the election day, you get about 1% gain. So, and then 10 months later or 12 months later, you get on average 10% gains in the market. So, regardless of who wins. And then when you get into the midterm year, things get a little bit dicey. So I guess regardless of who wins, 2025 shouldn't be horrible historically, but it's going to be a question of potentially different trades, Trump trades, Kamala trades going back and forth that will determine the ability for certain sectors to have momentum or for certain sectors to kind of not get the same type of progress that they were getting before. Let's hear from Ryan Detrick, see what he has to say about the current state of the market going into the election, and then we will keep going from there. Remember, stock compensation awarded for Palantir employees due to it hitting 50. Yeah, so I have to read through that report again, but from my understanding, if Palantir's stock closes above $50 for one trading day, doesn't have to be 1 month, one trading day, Palantir employees get a shit ton of grants. And those grants, then I think you can exercise them at like $70, but essentially it's like free options that they're getting if it hits 50. And if I'm not wrong, and it's only 1 day it has to close above 50, Palantir employees are about to get a lot of money. And what that means is that they're going to be very, very incentivized to get this sucker to $70, which is good for investors because you really want them working their ass off already when you've got a market cap that's so high. I mean, you've got to put up the best results ever next quarter to keep this thing going if we stay at this level and if we don't have a pullback. And so that's good because employees will make a ton of money, but so will investors if we get to that $70 range. And it seems like they are definitely incentivized to make that happen.
Joining me now, Ryan Detrick of the Carson Group. So the backdrop is favorable no matter what happens tonight?
Yeah, Scott, happy election day, and thanks for having me back. We think so. And you had a great 20-minute discussion before I came on. And, what do we know? Well, we had the VIX has obviously kind of soared from almost 15 to over 22 recently. Just yesterday, we saw massive puts being traded. So there's hedging. We know there's a big event coming up. All that negativity, Scott, once we kind of get through the uncertainty election, we get into the weeds of it here. We do think that potentially can be the springboard to a potential another strong November. I mean, let's not forget, November is higher, 11 in the last 12 years. It's just seasonality. I get it. But just look at today's services number. This economy is still strong. This is still a bull market, Scott.
You think we're just on the cusp of a plunge in volatility?
We do. We think so. That's a great way to put it there. I mean, listen, we have not. So the VIX was up around 22 just recently. The last 31 trading days, we've only had one day the S&P moved more than 1% up or down. That was Halloween, the big down day. So you've got all these bets on potential volatility, but we're not having any volatility. I love when Verone joined you yesterday. Chris Verone pointed this out yesterday. I agree. Look at what credit markets are doing. Look at credit spreads. There's no real fear. There's no monster under the bed when you look at the credit markets. Again, there's a lot of worry, yes, but maybe it's undue. And once you get to the other side, you probably are going to, again, get an upward swing. I don't think it, I hate to say it doesn't matter what happens, but once you just get through the uncertainty of this election, we think, the stage is set again for a year-end rally.
But I mean, I asked the group during the conversation that you were listening to earlier whether the biggest wild card this week was actually Fed risk, not election risk. For the very reasons that you just suggested, backdrop's good. So many foresee the market going higher no matter who wins. The Fed, I don't know. I mean, our expectations have been dialed back. What if they get dialed back further?
You're right. That's a great point. Now, first off, I'll be clear. We do think there's 25 basis points coming. We think there's probably another one in December. I've come on with you all year saying inflation is last year's problem. That's why we don't think we need rates up at 5% because inflation has come back. But that could be the kind of the uncertainty this week that nobody saw coming, right? And the Fed's on a Thursday. I mean, half the people even on your network are saying Wednesday, like it's Thursday this week. They're really trying to throw everybody off when it comes to the Fed. But I'll just put it like this, right? We're up over 17.5% for the year going into this month, into the month of November. All right, all you need to know, listeners, you know this, 14 times this happened. November was higher, 12 out of 14. December higher, 11 out of 14. Those 2 months combined, we're up every single time. 14 out of 14 times. You're up a lot going into these final 2 months. That's just one stat. I'm aware, but I think it's one we would not want to avoid here once we get the Fed out of the way as well.
The other stat that sort of hangs people up is valuation. How are you thinking about the price you're willing to pay for stocks right here?
Yeah, great point there. Valuations are a little pricey, especially large cap, right? I know it came out with you last month. We talked about technology. We are more neutral tech because that's where some of the pricier parts are. When we look out on the spectrum, I mean, I know it's a dirty word sometimes, small caps, right? Small caps are historically cheaper over large caps. Look what happened last week, right? Stock market was down, is what they told us. Yet small caps were up last week. Small caps outperforming yesterday, outperforming again. We think, again, with a strong economy, small caps, mid caps look good. Also cyclicals, those industrials, financials are still areas that are growing that aren't wildly overpriced, I guess. At the same time, we've all seen the numbers. Valuations, they matter in the very long term. But again, that's why the near term, 6 to 12 months, we're not overly concerned when you have record earnings coming in here, Scott.
You're neutral tech. Why?
Oh, similar to what I just talked about there. It's had a heck of a run. Yes. The valuations are some of the highest out there. And again, when we say neutral, people think it means you're bearish. I'll be very clear. The money we run at Carson Group, we have a lot of tech exposure. It's just we're not going overboard with the tech exposure because, again, we think of some of the pricier parts of the market. We do actually like communication services, which is clearly kind of cousin to
you're not overweight. Like it's like 30% of the S&P.
Right.
You're just saying exactly. you're not overweight the tech sector.
That's exactly what I'm saying. We are overweight the small, mid-caps, industrials, financials when we look at this kind of the average 60-40 portfolio that we run. But we're not overweight the large tech names at all here because, again, they're the pricier part of this market.
So essentially the same argument he was making, which that whoever wins at the end of the day, market moves on and, goes forward with fundamentals of companies outside of just politics in terms of a different administration. Jeff Bezos, by the way, speaking of Mag 7 stocks that are a bit pricey, which is why Ryan Detrick, Tom Lee, these guys are not really into the Mag 7 right now. They're into other parts of the market. $230 million of stock, $213 million of stock was sold today Not today. It's Amazon. Jeff Bezos filed for a sale of 1.07 million shares of Amazon stock at $200.07. So that means he actually sold, right? That doesn't mean he's filing for a pre-sale. That means he actually sold at $200.07. When was Amazon above $200 enough for him to sneak in this sale? Like, when did you guys do you guys remember Amazon even being above 200 for a little bit? Or if it was up for 200 for like 20 seconds, he got in that sale, which is crazy. Transaction date 11/1. Okay, so that means he sold it. Oh, he sold it on Friday, the day after earnings. Yeah. So that means when Amazon on November 1st was like barely hovering above $200, I think the most it reached was $200.10. And that was maybe, I mean, I'm being hyperbolic here, but maybe for 45 seconds, maybe it has a couple minutes. In those couple of minutes, you had Bezos sell 1 million shares, which is why it wasn't able to get above that $200 range. $200.56. Let's see right here. So on November 1st, yeah, 250. You're right. It hit 250 at 11:30 on the dot, and then it came down from there. Yeah, you're right. It hit 250 at 11:30, and by 12:30, it was down back at 198. Yeah, so I guess he had a little bit of time to sneak in that sale. Dude, the Bezos wall is a real thing. That's a real thing. It's like, and I don't know if he's done selling. I think he wants $6 billion liquid to buy the Celtics, because I guess he's bored or something. But it looks like that Bezos wall is going to be there for a while. So, not the best. Where's SMCI? Are we still tanking on SMCI? 2470. SMCI down 9.3%. Yeah. So for those that are just joining, SMCI will have their call at 5 p.m. They're not really giving like real numbers. This was quoted as preliminary guidance, and they're going to be updating their new accounting firm presumably soon, is what they said, but their internal investigation found no accounts of fraud. At least that's what SMCI is saying. Do you guys want to listen to the 5 p.m. call on SMCI? I really don't, but I'll stay here. If you guys want to listen to it, I'll just be finishing up some work and we can turn it on. It's a little bit hard to listen to from the last time I listened to it. It's not the easiest listen, but if you want to listen to it, we can keep it on. And if not, we'll just end the stream at 5. So we can also just do that. No one cares. Okay, cool. If you really care, just go to the SMCI's website and you can click on the link. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll end the stream at 5, and then I'll get ready for this election stream that we got coming up later into the night. Let's listen to the Palantir call again. Well, I have some clips from the Palantir call, so let's actually pull those up. Let's listen to Karp. Dude, it's just I don't even know what to say, dude. It's like I'm blushing, dude. Like I don't know what to say, but it's like $50. Well, okay, so here's the question. What was your exact reaction when you saw 50? Like, what did you feel in that moment? What were you like? Were you outside? Were you with your kids? Were you like, what were you doing when you saw 50? Because I was here on the stream with Iliano, and we were discussing the merch store, and then boom, we just hit 50, and it was just like crazy. I was in shock. Yeah, I think a lot of people were in shock. Pounded the table. By the way, Karp was abusing that table yesterday. Karp was absolutely abusing that table. I was sitting in front of the computer watching you. I love it, Brad. Lisa watching you. Dude, we're going to remember this years from now, bro. Like literally years from now, which is going to be crazy. Watching your stream. Okay, everyone was with me. I don't even know why I asked that question. Everybody was here. I love it. All right, so here's Karp yesterday on the call. If it loads. His hair was crazy, by the way, yesterday, right? His hair was all up there as well. Let me reload it.
With that, I'll turn it over to Alex for a few remarks, and then Anna will kick off the Q&A.
Given how strong our results are, I almost feel like we should just go home. But we've been saying since we went public in a DPO that we would build infrastructure to make America and its allies the dominant force in the world. We claimed to much skepticism that this would be done in a software product, that defense and commercial industry would be driven by software, hardware, hybrid technologies, that there were very few companies in the world that could actually do that, that these companies are basically only built in America, that the companies that have tried to do this that aren't Palantir are built by ex-Palantirians, that the financials of Palantir would flow from our products and our culture and our way of implementing, that we would bring violence and death to our enemies while targeting and general issues of safety better for our allies and for Americans, that we would stand by our values in thick and thin, including that the West and America are superior ways of organizing and that this is a great country.
I mean, dude, no CEO is talking like this. Just no CEO is talking like this.
And historically anomalous in its greatness. And that we would build a company with the best people from all over the world, but primarily from America, to power America and its allies.
No CEO is going on stage and being like, America's the best. And, you know, not only is it a good marketing tactic for Karp, but I think he genuinely believes it. And given 40% of their business is government, it makes sense to ring that bell and constantly sing the praises of the U.S. if that's one of the missions of the company, given it was created in the wakes of 9/11 to prevent another attack like that happening again. Here's some more coverage from CNBC on Palantir as well today.
Has been finding ways to monetize AI. And one use case that's emerging is actually the military. Check out Palantir shares surging 22% after the company cited a boom in demand for its AI software from the U.S. government. And it's not alone, as AI giants are working to expand their work with defense agencies. Deirdre Bosa, in fact, digging into that trend for today's Tech Check. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey, Kelly. So Silicon Valley's relationship with defense and military, it's evolving from the reluctant to the interdependent, largely thanks to what else? Artificial intelligence. That is on display this week from Palantir and Meta. And it'll be a question for other big tech names like Google as the race to develop and deploy AI technology as it becomes a bipartisan autocratic versus democratic, U.S. versus China issue. On the Palantir earnings call last night, CEO Alex Karp, he really highlighted the opportunity. He said many times that their U.S. government business is booming. It grew 40% year over year. That was a seven-fold increase. That let Karp raise full-year guidance and pushing shares to record highs today. Karp said that he is seeing the adoption of Palantir technology in every part of the U.S. government, including, quote, the White House, Congress, defense, intel. Then there's Meta this week announcing that it is opening up its Llama AI model to U.S. agencies for military purposes. Now, that marks a major shift from policy previously that had banned the use of its technology for such efforts. Earlier this year, OpenAI reportedly softened its own stance on the use of its technology for military applications. Now, Google, the poster child of Silicon Valley's skepticism and reluctance of government collaboration. This will be an interesting one to watch as we see more collaboration. When Google acquired AI lab DeepMind in 2014, Kelly, it committed to borrowing its technology for military or surveillance purposes. But as AI increasingly becomes an issue of national security and maintaining U.S. competitiveness in the face of China's ascent, will it also reverse course? It is certainly the one to watch, especially because of its turbulent history with government defense contracts, Kelly.
You know, Alex Karp has been such a kind of breakout player in this area who's unapologetic for their work with the government. And it seems as though he's almost giving voice to now what the rest of big tech is starting to do a little bit more quietly.
Yeah, and he's been saying it for a long time. There was an interesting response to a question on the earnings call last night where he said when they were getting started, people were worried that they were getting too many government contracts, and how that has changed and how Palantir has really helped build up an industry that extends beyond Palantir. There's Anduril, of course, other startups in the space. But this development with big tech is really interesting. It's almost a throwback, too, to the way that Silicon Valley originally developed after World War II and in the Cold War. They've had, you know, a really close relationship with government in the past, but really in the 2010s, they grew further apart. So what we're seeing is maybe a return to that. And it's very interesting to watch, but really it's AI that is forming the backbone of this.
Investors love it as well. There's no better client than the government.
Exactly.
Steady revenues. Anyway, Deirdre, thanks very much. Deirdre.
So here is another reason why Palantir got to $51 today. It's a little bit of an older chart, but it kind of still makes the point that I'm trying to make because it has only gone up in terms of spending. Take a look at this. Venture capital investment in military tech defense startups is booming. By first quarter of 2023, which was almost 2 years ago now, it was at 15 billion. I believe, if I'm not wrong, 2024 was double that by June, which means based on how we end out the year, if we double that, then we're closing in on $50-60 billion. The point is, defense spending is getting really intense for the startups in Silicon Valley. And it's ironic because if you guys remember in 2019, Google got a contract by the DoD. It was actually, Project Maven is a little bit different right now, but it was called Maven. And it was around AI drone targeting. And Google took the contract. And then some employees in one of the Google offices didn't get their vanilla lattes from Starbucks on time. And they decided to create an internal petition against Google for being a evil company for taking a contract to work with the United States federal government, even though Google works with companies in China. And that petition went viral inside of the company. And then Google put out a statement. This is Sundar, by the way. And they said, we're not going to work with the DoD. Karp steps in 2019 and he's like, we'll take the deal. And they give Palantir $200 million. They execute on the contract. Now they got a $480 million contract for something similar to what they were doing back in 2019. And it's so funny because now if you give Google a $200 million contract, dude, within a heartbeat, they would take that contract. Why? Not only do they need to grow, but it's cool to be a government contractor now because all these startups from Silicon Valley are raising all this money because American dynamism is cool. Protecting the West is cool. In 2019, when it wasn't cool, that's when Palantir actually, took on the deal and took on all the criticism and all the freaking protests that were going on in 2019 for actually doing the deal. So it's just so exciting to see the entire market be like, wow, now Silicon Valley defense, all this stuff is important. And it's like, there's that quote is like your character is defined as who you are when no one's watching. Like what you do when no one's watching or how you talk about someone when people aren't watching is like if you talk back behind someone behind their back, you're like not really that good of a person, right? Like, Palantir, like when it was really not sexy to be a defense contractor, Palantir embraced being a defense contractor. We got Chad right here in the chat. It is berries, not latte. Get the riff right. That is correct. It was people eating their berries in Palo Alto, probably along with their vanilla latte as well. But it's just so funny, right? Because it's like the Google canceled the Maven contract because employees came up to Sundar and they were like, yeah, this is like evil. This is like really bad. Don't take the contract. And it's evil to work with the United States government on drone targeting to make sure that there's less casualties and that your technology is weaponized in a meaningful way. That was evil in 2019. Now it's like, dude, now that the world's not kumbaya, now that China's not super excited to be part of the global atmosphere, now that Russia's invading Ukraine, now that you got Israel, Hamas, now it's like, it's almost prophetic the way Palantir realized that this globalized ecosystem we're living in, where everyone just believes in everyone else's values and we can live peacefully, that's not going to exist forever. And that's not fear mongering. That's just being real about the situation, which is that China doesn't believe in a lot of the freedoms the United States believes in. Neither do a lot of these Middle Eastern countries. I don't know if you guys saw that girl who went viral. I'm forgetting her name, but it was a couple of days ago. She was tired of being harassed so much. She took off her outfit and she was like just wearing regular kind of clothes in Iran. And from my understanding, they killed her for that. Right. This is why it's so funny to me when people are so, pro Middle Eastern politics. It's like, dude, there are places in the Middle East where if you're not wearing a hijab, like you could get killed. And that girl, she was like, you know what? I'm tired of being harassed. I'm tired of this shit. She just was walking on the street like a girl you would see in California. And she ended up dying. So it's like these are values that the world doesn't agree with the United States on. And because of the lack of belief in those fundamental rational Western values that are so important and special and something we have to literally fight for, including the right to vote, by the way, which is something we can't take for granted, Palantir unequivocally supports that. And they supported that in 2019 when it wasn't sexy to support that. That's what really matters. That's what really fucking matters. And now the market's like, You know, this is why you can call Palantir all overvalued all you want, but like if you're patriotic, at least to an extent, and you're looking at Palantir, you're kind of just like valuation smalumation, right? Market cap, right? It's like, I know I'm not to say that the numbers don't matter here. Obviously, we talk about the numbers a lot, but it's one of those things where you're like, just as a patriot, you're happy that the market is actually rewarding that company that gave a fuck when no one gave a fuck. And as a result, you know, the market wants to fit within that momentum. You know what's also really funny as well? It's like, I don't think that's slowing down, by the way. This whole American dynamism thing, I think woke culture is starting to die out. People are tired of this idea that they get canceled because they make a stupid joke. And I think protecting the West and believing in Western values is starting to get in fashion, which means if that's the case, we're looking at a decade-long trajectory at minimum of defense tech being sexy. And the sexiest defense tech company on the planet right now, without question, is Palantir, which is, by the way, helping all the other small defense tech startups get into the government, which means there's a little bit of, you know, their fingers everywhere in terms of how they're able to work with other companies, which makes them a legitimate platform, aka FedStart, which we don't talk about enough. And I think Mariana is one of the only analysts that actually understands that because she's a defense analyst as well. And that's another reason you're giving Palantir a bit of a premium. So it's exciting, dude. It's pretty exciting. Benny says that was kind of dumb of her, though. If she knew that would happen, why do it? So I disagree with that, Benny. I think she was trying to make a political statement, right? If she knew that taking off the hijab was going to result in her death, and she was still okay with that just to make the statement that this is the level of oppression that women live in the Middle East, then I don't think it was dumb of her. I think it was one of the most brave things you could ever do as a woman. And I think a lot of times people forget that shit, dude. Like, especially some of the friends I have that are a little bit more progressive, that are like super pro Middle East, anti-America. It's like, you guys realize in America, you can walk down the street in a bikini and the government will not kill you. In other places, that's not the case. All right. And this is black and white. This is objectively true. And if you don't get that and you're still like, well, America's the big bad guy, not saying America's perfect, far from perfect, but to say that those guys got it better than us, the fuck is wrong with you, bro? Like literally, what is wrong with you? And I've had these conversations with friends that are like just indoctrinated in this stuff. And I'm like, this is not even political. This is just like, should women die for wearing a bikini walking down the street? No. Okay. One country does that. One country doesn't. Seems pretty obvious to me which one's the bad guy. Pretty fucking obvious which one's the bad guy. As Chad says right here, perspective, dude. I think this is, you know, it's lack of perspective and it's privilege to not ever have to go through that, to never have to go through that. And a lot of people in the United States never had to worry about a government literally enacting tyranny upon them, because the people in 1776 that did fight for those freedoms already went through that. And they came up with a constitution and a Bill of Rights to make sure that would never happen again. And although it has not been perfect, it has been the greatest experiment that America has lived up to, or at least at the very least strived to live up to. And this voting election cycle that we're going to have today, that is another manifestation of us agreeing that every 4 years, we as a country, we the people, get to decide who gets to lead us again. Is it a perfect voting ecosystem? No, nothing's perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin staying in power for 50 years. And it's just that perspective is lacking at such a high level, dude. At such a fucking high level, especially in my generation, you know. And I'm getting older. I'm going to be 30 in the next couple of years, so I can't really say I'm a kid anymore. But like, these are conversations I had in college, and it just used to blow my mind. And I get it, because I used to think like this to an extent, but that was when I was in high school. And that's when I was like a pseudo card carrying communist. But a funny thing happened, you know, like one day I grew up and I realized, oh, I have to pay taxes. Oh, like I have to actually work for my money. Oh, it's like, it kind of sucks when the government just takes your money and like, you don't even know what they're spending it on. It's like, oh, so like maybe centralized planning. And this is what Sean was talking about in the podcast that we did. Maybe the organized planning without having the ability for meritocracy to permeate through various different sectors, whether it's government or commercial in the context of business. That not being there actually creates really bad ramifications for society. And when you don't have a thriving democracy, when you don't have a thriving meritocratic society that is based fundamentally on the values of capitalism, Again, capitalism's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than killing someone because she was wearing a bikini. Then you get horrible things like not actually giving everyone the ability to have some basic equal rights, like not dying if you show some cleavage. That's important. It's very, very important, I feel like, to ultimately recognize that. Okay, do we actually want to listen to SMCI's call? Yes or no? Do we want to? Yes or no? I'm not going to care too much about it, but if we want to listen to it, I can stay on for the next hour and we can try to listen to it if we really want to. And then at 7 p.m. we'll do election stream. Do you want to listen to it? Okay. There's a lot more no's than yeses. There's like 4 yeses. If we don't listen to it, then we're just gonna end, or else I'm gonna go back into my. Okay, we'll listen to a little bit of it. Well, if you hate this, then you guys can leave. I'll be back at 7 p.m. So come back in 2 hours and we'll do the election. If you want to listen to it, you can stay for a little bit. If it gets horrible, we'll end it. But let's listen to a little bit of it. All right, here we go.
Prior to beginning the Q&A, but the company will not address any questions regarding the recent decision of our independent auditor to resign and the delay in the.
This is why I feel like we shouldn't listen to this, dude. Did you just hear him? The company will not address any questions about the auditor and what they said. This is why. Like, this is like, what are we listening to here, dude?
Current and new product offerings and competitive industry and economic trends. We will discuss estimated financial results, but reference to any financial results are preliminary and subject to change based on finalized results contained in future filings with the SEC. By now, you should have received a copy of today's news release that was issued after the close.
Okay, yeah, guys, we can't. This is torture, dude. We can't. This is torture. Come on, bro. There's no way anyone wants to listen to this. That was bad. That was like even trying to listen to that was horrible. I'll put the link in the chat if you really want to listen to SMCI's call. This is the link. Be my guest. But that was just like, dude, I don't want to fucking listen to that. There is no way. There it is. There it is in the chat. You can listen to it if you want to listen to it. Andrew just joined and I'm dying. Yeah, bro. And then like when you actually hear the CEO talk, it's not fun to listen to, dude. It's like I tried listening to them 2 quarters ago. It was so bad. It was not good. If you want to listen to it, you can leave and listen. And there's the link right there. You can easily join and listen to it from there. Anyway, to put an end to the conversation we were having, going back to Palantir's patriotism, it is something that I think we can't undervalue. It is something the market is definitely not undervaluing. And when you see the types of people that end up losing their lives because of showing some cleavage in the Middle East, it's just one of those things where it's like, you remember how much you should love America, you know? And by the way, Karp's not some super right-wing guy. Karp is economically progressive. From what he said in the past, he's voting for Harris, and he still loves America, right? This is not about left or right. This is just about, do you believe in these fundamental values? And Palantir at its core, it seems like they actually care about those values at the end of the day. There was that terrible snowflake call we could compare to for worst ever. Dude, it was so bad, dude. Remember that snowflake call where the guy would barely answer the analyst questions? It was so freaking bad. Yeah, SMCI is not going to be better. All right. I think that is it for us. And we have 2 hours left until this election stream. Do we have... We're going to need an interactive map for this stream as we call out states. We're going to be switching between a ton of news stations today. Fox, I was about to say SMCI. Fox, CNN, yada, yada. We're going to have to go through all of them. So we're going to be keeping up with the coverage. And the main ones we're looking at are Pennsylvania, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Those are the big ones. So those are the big ones for who's going to be. Chris will be there. Matt should be there. Carlos should be there. Doug from the chat, he'll be there. And then me. Yes, I did vote. I voted already. You know, it was so funny. I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. And we were just on the phone, and I was like, so who'd you vote for? And she was like, I'm not going to tell you. And I was like, dude, just fucking like, who'd you vote for? And she was like, I don't want to say. I was just like, dude, just fucking say. Like, who would you vote for? Like who would you vote for? And she like wouldn't say it. And then I just like kept asking more questions. I was like, so you voted for Trump? And she was like, like, you voted for Trump. Like, why are you like hiding this? Like, just tell me who you voted for. And then she ended up voting for Trump. And it was really interesting because she comes from this place that's like super democratic, like super liberal. And I don't think in a million years she thought she was voting for Trump, but she voted for Trump. And so it was really, she also has these roommates that are like super like anti-Trump and like hardcore Democrats. And it was just funny because I was just like, I had a feeling she was going to vote for Trump. I had a feeling she was turning more to that side, and then she finally admitted it. But here's the point of this: she was afraid to admit it, which is interesting because you might have that kind of silent majority come back in 2024, like they did in 2016, where a lot of people didn't admit it to the pollsters. I'm sure there's people just like her. The amount of people that switched to Trump this time has been remarkable, especially in Silicon Valley. So if you have all those people saying, "Hey, you know, we're just not going to publicly say it, but we're going to vote in the poll booth for Trump," maybe that's where he gets his lift and where all these polls are dog shit. And then, you know, by tonight, we're going to see if a silent majority ends up coming and voting for Trump. Elon's on Spaces right now. Is Elon on Twitter Spaces? Hold on. That's actually something worth listening to versus SMCI. Is he on there right now? Let's see. Yeah, he's on. He's talking about the election. All right, let's listen to Mr. Elon. Let's listen to him. Okay, no one's talking right now. Did he just start it? Yeah, he just started it. I'm going to request to speak. I'm going to see if he lets me speak. That would be pretty cool if he lets me speak. I'm just kidding. He's not going to let me speak. Yeah, I'm on my phone too. Yeah, no one's talking. So I think he just started this like 2 minutes ago. Literally 2 minutes. Yeah, literally 2 minutes ago, he just started this. All right, so we got Elon, who's probably going to say some stuff, I guess, about the election. This should be starting pretty soon. And we'll see what Mr. Elon says. All right, so the official election stream will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, so in about 2 hours. We'll listen to Elon for like 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll get out of here. And I'll get ready for the stream. So then we'll get into the election mindset and get ready to go. And see, CNN has a CNN. Let me show you this right now. Here's what CNN has on their website in terms of their map. Let me share this right now. They have Harris 226, Trump 219 right now, if you assume none of the swing states. So if you assume none of the swing states yet, which are in yellow, you guys will see this in a second, then they've got Harris in the lead currently, at least right now. You guys see this? Yeah. So the swing states are Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. Wow. Build your own projections with a CNN subscription. Okay, we're not doing that. But yeah, so it seems like, again, this Pennsylvania one, this is going to be the big one. Whoever wins that, it's going to make their route a lot easier. But assuming Trump doesn't flip New Jersey or New York, or Harris doesn't flip Texas or Oklahoma or Arkansas, 226 to 219 is at least how they're thinking of it right now. The time at earliest we would find out who won, probably 11 p.m., I would say, if it's a blowout. If it's not a blowout, it might take some more time. It might take a little bit more time to see.
Let's see. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Elon.
Is my voice coming through?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Just like a thumbs up or something.
Giving a thumbs up to the stream like Elon can see it. Elon, can I talk? I promise I'm going to buy Tesla next year. It's going to be a big position. Just make sure the robots take over the world, please. Yo, could you imagine if I was on speakerphone and he could actually hear me do that? That'd be wild. I should request to speak. I'm going to do it. Request to speak. Allow. All right, sent the request, guys. If they let me speak, then I'll be... Yes, we can hear you, bro.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Big day today.
It really is. Also, the main thing I wanted to encourage everyone is to go out and vote and get all your friends and family to vote. There's only a few hours left to vote. I think most places close around 8 p.m. Some close a little bit earlier, some a bit later. But there's, depending on where you are, only 4 or 5 hours left to vote. So just make sure everyone is hounding friends and family to vote, vote, vote. This is the most important election of our lives. So I'm just going to be a broken record on that front. I've said it a few times. We definitely need to make some improvements to spaces so it's actually easier to see who to invite as a speaker. So
There's probably like hundreds of requests.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see, who's on from America Pack? So maybe someone from America Pack can talk as well.
Hey, it's Alex.
Alex. Let's see, what's the latest in Pennsylvania? I think that's what most people have asked me about.
It looks like turnout is still really high. I think it's going to be, an insane night. Like you've been hitting, the early vote compared to 2020 has been insane. So as long as same day and election day voting hits their mark, I think we're in for a good night in Pennsylvania.
That's my impression too. So if I recall correctly, we started today with about a 600,000, roughly 600,000 vote advantage in early votes relative to 2020. So there's still more Democrat early votes, but there were 600,000. The sort of R minus D early votes was about a 600,000 delta from the 2020 election. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it was 600,000. That is what we were saying.
Yeah. So Biden won Pennsylvania only by 80,000 votes, if I recall correctly, in 2020. So if we're going into this with a 600,000 vote advantage relative to 2020, it seems like as long as people show up, there may be as much as maybe a 400,000 or 500,000 vote Republican victory in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And then I know, was it Cambria County that is 10 p.m. that they just ruled that people can vote until 10 p.m. as well.
Great. Well, you want to just tell people everything you know about Pennsylvania, or anything in general, and maybe there could be others as well that jump on from America Pack.
Well, one of the things too that people are really hitting on is the numbers in Florida, and they're trying to say that in the past that's been an indicator for higher Republican turnout in Florida has generally led to higher turnout nationwide, and the shift from blue to red in Florida has been an indicator nationwide for states like that. But in general, the fact that we're seeing Republicans in Nevada and in North Carolina winning the early vote straight out is a clear indicator of a trend that's shifting from blue to red. So as long as as we've been hitting, like, men showing up in Pennsylvania is going to be huge. And as long as we're hitting those trends on the same day, like we have in the past, I think it's going to be, a big night. I think Trump could take all of the battleground states and possibly even flip, a couple surprise states like maybe Virginia or New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think.
All right, guys, if you want to listen to the rest of that, you can go on Twitter and check it out. I got to get ready for the stream. So I'll be back in an hour and 45 minutes. Election night. Chris will definitely be there. Carlos should be there. Doug should be there. Matt Money should be there. And then maybe we'll have some other guests. 7 p.m. Eastern, hour and 45 minutes. We got a lot to cover. We'll be up late tonight, probably into that 1 a.m. time. And I haven't even thought about the election today because Palantir closed above $51. But now we got to start thinking about who's going to win and become the next president of the United States of America. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.